Hey everybody, and welcome back. Johnny B here with devslopes.com, and we are continuing on with our chat app. Let's go ahead and just run this to see where we left off. We were working on our collection view in our avatar picker view controller, and so in this lesson we are going to continue working on that, get it to where it's showing all of the correct avatar images, as well as being able to select them and save that to our user data service. So if this pops up, it's just been trying to vamp here while this loads. All right, we click here on our menu, go to login, don't have an account sign up here, and this is where we're at right now, okay? So we need to work on our configure cell function and get that all working. All right, so let's take a look at our avatar cell. One of the first things that we're going to need to know to configure our cell is whether it's supposed to be a dark or a light cell, right? So I'm thinking we create an enumerator here, and we're going to call this enumerator avatar type. And we're going to have two cases. Case one is dark, stop that, and it's trying to set it equal to an image, and the next case is light. All right, there we go. And so then in our configure cell function, we're going to say func configure cell. We are going to need to know the index so that we can set the image, and that's going to be of a type int. And we're also going to need to know the type of avatar that is supposed to be, whether it's dark or light, and that is of type avatar type, the enumerator that we just created. Okay, close this bottom pane here. And so we're going to say if the type is equal to avatar type dot dark, then the avatar image that we have an IB outlet for, the only UI element inside of these cells, then the image is going to be equal to UI image named, and it is going to be named dark, and then string interpolate the index that we are passing into this function. Okay, and then just a little bit of stylizing. If it's a dark avatar, then we're going to have a light gray background to it. If it's a light, then we're going to have a dark gray background, just so that the backgrounds accentuate the avatar images. All right, so we're going to say self.layer.background color is equal to UI color.lightgray.cg color. All right. So else, if this is a light avatar, we are going to say, actually I'm just going to copy this because it's pretty much the same thing. The avatar image is going to be equal to a UI image named, instead of dark, it's just going to be light. Okay, and just to drive it home one more time, if we look at our assets, these are named dark and then an integer. So what's going to happen is when the cell4item function is called in the view controller, it's going to cycle through and it's going to send the index 0 through 27 to our configure item cell, and it's going to do the check whether it's supposed to be dark or light, and then it's going to pick the avatar images based on that. Okay, and we need to change this UI color to just regular gray. All right, perfect. Going to save that. And now let's jump into our, I'm going to save that. I'm going to jump into our avatar picker VC. And here we need to call our configure cell function, okay? So we're going to say cell.configure cell, and we have, we're going to pass in the index, and that's pretty easy because that's right here, the index path. So we're going to say index path dot item will give us the specific index path index number that we want. But here we need to pass in the type. All right, so we need to actually create a variable that stores the type of avatar type that we are currently selected. Okay, so the variable is going to be var avatar type, and this is going to equal an avatar type, and by default it's going to be set to the dark because when we load the view controller, that's what the segment control is set to by default. Okay, so for now we'll just pass in the avatar type here, and it's just going to be the dark for now until we get in our segment control changed function working. All right, so let's go ahead and run that. All right, I'm gonna click here, click on login, don't have an account, and drum roll. Hey, there we go. All right, looks pretty cool. This doesn't do anything yet though. So let's go ahead and fix that. So how are we gonna do that? If we come down here to the segment control changed, I want you to try and figure this out on your own. Okay, so just kind of to talk you through it, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to do a check to see which segment control is selected. Then you're going to need to change this avatar type, and then you'll need to do something to reload the data. All right, so see if you can figure that out on your own, and if not, then we're going to do it right now together. Okay, so we're going to say if segment control dot selected segment index. So that's how we are able to access and know which one is selected. 0 is the first one, and then number 1 is the right one. All right, so we're going to say, so if it's equal to 0, then we know that the dark is selected. So we're going to say avatar type is equal to dot dark, and else the avatar type is equal to dot light. All right, so we are changing the variable here based on which segment control is selected. And then after we have set that, then we're going to say collection view dot reload data, and that will call all these collection view functions again. And this time when we pass in cell.configure cell, if we have selected the light segment control, then the light type of avatar type will be passed into the configure cell, and instead of loading the dark avatar images, it will load the light ones. All right, so to see that in action, let's go ahead and run it. All right, I'm gonna open up our menu, press login, don't have an account, click on the avatar, and hey, there we go. So now we are toggling between the dark and light, so that looks awesome. But this the flow doesn't look great how it's set up, and it probably doesn't look awesome on both the larger and smaller phones. Well, I guess this is the Plus, so it probably doesn't look awesome on the 7 or the SE sizes either. So let's go ahead and let's try and fix that. So one of the functions that we get here is if you type size for item at, let's see, I think we want this one right here, size for item at. All right, and we can type in and return a CG size. But I think what we want to do is we're gonna do a little bit of math and some coding here to make it more fluid. All right, so we have to take into account the screen sizes from the SE all the way up to the 7 Plus, right? And so we want the sizes of the cells and even how many columns to be dynamic based on which screen size we're using. All right, so we are going to calculate the number of columns and the size of the individual cells based on the screen size. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a variable here called number of columns. Okay, and that's going to be a CG float, and we're going to start out with 3. Okay, but we're going to say if the UI screen dot main dot bounds dot width is greater than 320, then let's go ahead and set the number of columns equal to 4. Okay, So we'll talk about this. Basically right here, this is just getting the width of the screen size. UI screen.main.bounds.width. That's just getting the width of the current screen. And 320, that is the width of the smallest iPhone size, the iPhone SE. So we're saying there's going to be 3 columns if it's an iPhone SE. If it's anything bigger, an iPhone 6 or 7 or any of the pluses, then we're going to go with 4 columns, just because that will look a little bit better. All right, so now we need to calculate the size of the width and height of our cells, okay? So what we're going to say is we're going to say let space between cells of type CG float, we're going to set that equal to 10. And you may be wondering why we're explicitly declaring all of these numbers to be of type CG float. And that's because if you see here, the CG size, we're going to be required to, when we do math, all of the numbers, we want them all to be of the same type so that everything works out, okay? So let me pull this up here again, our simulator, just to kind of, so we'll have a visual aid while I explain the math that we're going to be looking at here. All right, so this space between cells variable is this guy right here. So this gap as well as this one right here. And so what our goal is to calculate how tall and how wide we want each of these cells to be based on the screen width, okay? And so we're going to need to know the gap that we want between the cells. And we also need to know the inset distance, which I said was this padding on the sides. So we set that to be equal to 20. Okay, so we're going to say let, I'm going to call that padding. And that's also of type CG float. And that is equal to 40 because it is 20 on both sides. Basically, we're going to be eliminating everything that is not purely a collection view cell, okay? And then we're going to say let cell dimension equal, and so we're going to say a couple of parentheses here. We're going to say collection view dot bounds dot width minus the inset, or sorry, minus the padding minus the number of columns minus 1 times the space between cells, all of that divided by the number of columns. I need a space right here. All right, so let's kind of try to take a look at that again. So let me see if I can find a place for this that it'll fit. Close our left panel. Okay, so we're saying, like I said, we're trying to get the, let me make this smaller. Nope, okay, there we go. So we're trying to get the cell width and height, mainly the width, okay? Because we're looking at squares here. All right, so we're saying we're getting the space between the cells, and we're getting the padding, which is 40. So we're starting out saying get the entire width, and we're going to subtract from that the padding, okay? So that's gone. Then we're going to subtract from that the this gap right here, okay? And so all that leaves is this distance, this width, and this width. And so we're just going to take that amount and we're going to divide that by the number of columns, and that will give us the width of each individual cell based on the number of columns, the space between the cells, and the padding. All right. So then all we have to do is say return a CG size, and that is going to be width, cell dimension, and height, cell dimension. All right, so I'm going to save that, and I'm going to run this on an iPhone 7 Plus, 6S, and SE, and I'll just come back to you when those are all back up. Alrighty, so I got all three of them up here: the 7 Plus, a 6S, and an SE, and you can see that they all look great. We have the 3 rows in the SE. We have 4 in the plus and the regular size, and each of the sizes, they all are dynamically sized, so you don't have any weird spacing. And so yeah, that looks real good, guys. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop that and open up our right pane again. All right, so the last thing to do is select an avatar. All right, so what we're gonna need to do for that is we are going to call the function did select. All right, so what happens when we click it? We are going to save whichever one was selected as the user's avatar name. All right, so if the avatar type is equal to .dark when we select it, the user data service .instance .set avatar name. Remember I said we were going to need this. We are going to set that equal to dark, and we're going to string interpolate, and we're going to say index path .item. All right. Else the user data service instance .set avatar name will be light, and then string interpolate with the index path .item. All right, there we go. And then once that's done, we are going to just self.dismiss. Animated is true and completion is nil. So when we click on it, we are saving to the user data service. Let's jump over here. We're going to jump over here to the user data service. We are saving to the avatar name property, whichever one we clicked on basically. And then we are just dismissing. All right, and then what we want to do is we're going to dismiss back to the create account VC. And what we want to do is when we get back here, we want to update the profile or the user's image to the one that we just selected. So what we're going to say is we're going to say on view did appear, and we're going to do a check because when we initialize the user data service, we set the avatar name just equal to an empty string. So what we're going to do is we're going to say if user data service .instance .avatar name is not still equal to that empty string, meaning we have selected one from the avatar picker, then we're going to set the user image .image equal to that image. So we're going to say UI image named, and the name of the image is user data service .instance .avatar name. And then we are also going to set the local variable for avatar name, which we use here in our create user function. Okay, so we're going to say avatar name is equal to, again, user data service .instance avatar name. All right, there we go. So let's save that and run it. I'm going to put this back up on the iPhone 7 and run that and see how that works. All right, so let's see. Here we're going to go, don't have an account, click here, and we're going to select this shark, and hey, there we go. All right. Awesome. If we select one of these light ones though, it's kind of hard to see it, but we'll fix that here in the next videos. I think we'll go ahead and call it good on this one. So in this video, we set out to finish up our avatar picker VC, and that we did. Now we can select our avatars. We got the sizing right and dynamic for any of the iPhone sizes. And yeah, it looks really, really good so far. So you guys are doing awesome, making great progress. I'm gonna go ahead and just save our progress here in terminal for Git. Let's say git commit -m, and this is lesson 14. And in the next lesson, we're gonna work on that background color as well as some other cool things, all right? So I will see you then.